You ever have one of those nights where your brain decides sleep is optional? That was me, at 2 a.m., scrolling Reddit with the kind of intensity that could burn holes in my screen. The rabbit hole was deep, and somewhere between a thread about UFO sightings in Montana and a guy claiming he could teach his cat calculus, I stumbled across a post about the dark web. You know, classic internet lore, spooky, illegal, and honestly way above my pay grade. But then the curiosity bug bit me. I thought, what's the harm? I wasn't planning on actually diving into the dark web, just looking. So, I clicked a link. One turned into another, and the next thing I knew, I was on a site that felt like the love child of Craigslist and a hacker's dream. It was this weird, glitchy page listing missing persons. No explanation, no context, just a bunch of grainy photos like mugshots that had been Xeroxed 1,000 times. Creepy, sure, but nothing I hadn't seen in crime docs before. Until I saw me. At first I laughed, like full-on, wow, someone's pulling a prank kind of laugh, because there's no way, right? But the picture was unmistakable. It wasn't some blurry generic doppelganger. It was me. Hair a little longer, wearing a jacket I'd honestly forgotten I owned. The caption underneath read, "Missing, Rachel S. Portland, Oregon. Last seen March 2023. March 2023. That was 7 months ago. And I'm not missing. I'm right here, sitting on my couch, eating cold pizza." For a second, I thought maybe this was one of those targeted ad things gone rogue. You know, like when you Google running shoes once and suddenly every website thinks you're training for a marathon? Except, there's no way. I've never searched for how to disappear or DIY missing persons posters. I zoomed in, my heart hammering in my chest. The photo wasn't just me, it was me now. The jacket, the hairstyle, it all lined up. And then I noticed the date. The page had been updated 2 days ago. 2 days. Someone had posted about me being missing, and I didn't even know I was lost. I closed my laptop so fast I nearly crushed my own fingers. The room felt like it was closing in, all shadows and whispers, like the walls knew something I didn't. My roommate, Katie, was out of town for the weekend, so it was just me and the pizza boxes for company. I considered calling her, but what was I supposed to say? Hey, remember how I said I wasn't good with surprises? Well, surprise. The internet thinks I'm dead. Instead, I sat there, replaying every normal, boring detail of my life in my head, searching for cracks, grocery store trips, yoga classes I quit after 2 sessions, a Tinder date that ghosted me so hard I might as well be the one missing. Nothing about my life screamed, "You're in danger." But the photo on that page, it didn't lie. By the time the sun came up, I still hadn't slept. My laptop sat untouched on the coffee table, like some haunted relic. Every time I looked at it, my stomach twisted into knots. But I couldn't ignore it. Not really. So I grabbed my phone and Googled myself, just to see if there was some logical explanation. There wasn't. What I did find was weirder. My LinkedIn profile was gone. My Facebook page? Deactivated. Even my old blog from college, where I'd posted exactly 3 entries about vegan recipes and promptly forgot it existed, was wiped. It was like someone had hit the delete button on my entire online presence. And the worst part? I didn't do it. My phone buzzed, making me jump about a mile. It was a text from my mom. "Call me when you're up. Weird question for you." Weird question? That's rich considering the night I just had. But something about the timing made my throat go dry. I hit call, pacing the living room while it rang. "Rachel," Mom answered, her voice chipper in that way only moms can be before 8 a.m. "You're up early." "Yeah," I said, trying to sound casual. "What's the weird question?" "Oh, it's probably nothing," she said, which was her way of saying it was definitely something. But have you been, in touch with your cousin Nathan recently? Nathan? I frowned. I hadn't seen him since Christmas 2 years ago when he got drunk on eggnog and tried to juggle ornaments. No, why? Well, she hesitated. He called last night, said something about you needing help, said you might be in trouble. My blood ran cold. Trouble? What kind of trouble? That's the thing, Mom said. He wouldn't say, just kept asking if you were okay. Is there something going on, sweetie? I opened my mouth to answer, but no words came out, because I didn't know how to explain what was going on when I didn't even understand it myself. After Mom's call, I sat frozen, phone still pressed to my ear long after she'd hung up. Nathan? Trouble? The guy once got lost in a Home Depot. What kind of trouble could he possibly think I was in? But that didn't matter. What mattered was he somehow knew something was wrong before I did. I had no choice. I had to call him. Nathan answered on the third ring. Rachel? His voice sounded shaky, like he was either out of breath or trying not to freak out. What's going on, Nate? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Mom said you called her last night. Something about me being in trouble? Yeah, He hesitated, and I could practically hear him pacing. Look, I don't want to freak you out, but I got this weird email yesterday. No sender, no subject line, just a link. And when I clicked it, it was this list. My stomach dropped. What kind of list? Missing persons. Your name was on it. A chill ran down my spine. You're sure it was me? Positive, he said. It had your picture, your full name, even your city. And, Rachel, it said you were in danger. Like, imminent danger. The walls seemed to close in again. What else did it say? Nothing specific, he admitted. Just a warning to stay away from you. It was weird. Felt like some kind of phishing scam. But then I saw your face and, I don't know. I thought you should know. Stay away from me? My voice cracked. Why would someone... I don't know, he interrupted, his voice rising. But whoever sent it knows who you are, and they know me too. I think you need to go to the cops. The cops. Right. Because that's exactly what you do when you stumble into a mystery that feels ripped from a Netflix thriller. Except what would I even tell them? That my cousin got an anonymous email and I saw my face on a website I probably shouldn't have been on? They'd laugh me out of the precinct. I'll figure it out, I said, though I had no idea how. Thanks for telling me, Nate. Be careful, okay? He said. And call me if you need anything, seriously. I hung up, the weight of his words settling like a brick in my chest. This wasn't just some internet prank. Someone out there knew me, knew us, and they wanted to scare us. Or worse, I needed air. Grabbing my jacket, I stepped outside, the brisk Portland morning hitting me like a slap to the face. My neighborhood was quiet, the kind of peaceful suburbia where nothing exciting ever happened. Normally, I loved that about it. Today, it felt eerie, like every car parked on the street was watching me. As I walked, I tried to piece it all together. The photo, the website, Nathan's email. None of it made sense, but it all felt connected. And then, as I turned the corner onto a quiet street, I saw it. A black SUV idling at the curb. I froze. The windows were tinted, too dark to see inside, but the engine was running. My heart raced. Was it paranoia? Probably. But as I kept walking, the SUV started to roll forward, matching my pace. I ducked into a coffee shop without thinking, the bell above the door jingling as I stepped inside. The smell of espresso and fresh pastries hit me, momentarily grounding me. I ordered a coffee I didn't want, pretending to fumble with my wallet while sneaking glances out the window. The SUV was still there, parked now, right across the street. I grabbed my coffee and sat by the window, pretending to scroll through my phone while keeping one eye on the street. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. Maybe I was being ridiculous. Maybe I just needed to... The door jingled again, and a man walked in. Tall, mid-30s, wearing a dark hoodie and jeans. He didn't look at me, but he didn't order anything either. He just stood there, hands in his pockets, scanning the room like he was looking for someone. Or something. My stomach clenched. Was it me? Did he follow me here? I tried to play it cool, sipping my coffee like I wasn't imagining worst-case scenarios. But then his phone buzzed. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and left as quickly as he'd come in. I counted to 10 before daring to look outside again. The SUV was gone. Shaking, I left the coffee shop and headed home, taking the long way just in case. By the time I got back, my hands were trembling so badly I almost dropped my keys. I locked the door behind me and double-checked the windows, pulling the blinds shut. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text from an unknown number. "Stop looking into this. You're being watched." I dropped the phone like it was a live grenade, my pulse thundering in my ears. Someone knew. About the website, about Nathan, about me. I wasn't just missing on paper. Someone wanted me to disappear for real. I stared at the text, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. My mind raced. How did they know? Were they watching me right now? Every shadow in the room suddenly felt alive, like it could reach out and grab me at any moment. I wanted to scream, but who would hear me? And what would I even say? For a few minutes, I didn't move. Couldn't move. Then, like a reflex, I grabbed my phone and typed back, "Who is this? What do you want?" No response. I tossed the phone onto the couch and started pacing. Maybe I should call the police. But I didn't even know where to begin. "Hi, officer. Someone thinks I'm missing, but I'm not, and now I'm getting creepy texts?" Yeah, that sounded solid. I peeked out through the blinds. The street looked normal. No SUVs, no strangers lurking. Just the same quiet suburban scene it always was. But I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was out there waiting. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was an email. No subject line, no sender. Just a single attachment. A video file. Every part of me screamed not to open it. But curiosity? That's a dangerous thing. My hands shook as I clicked on it. The video started with static, and then an image flickered onto the screen. It was grainy, like it had been shot on an old security camera, but I could make out enough to know where it was. My apartment. I swallowed hard as the footage zoomed in on my front door. The timestamp in the corner showed it was from last night, around 3 a.m., just hours after I'd found my photo online. Someone stepped into the frame. A figure in a dark hoodie, their face obscured, standing inches from my door. They didn't knock. They didn't try to get in. They just stood there, staring at the peephole, like they knew I was on the other side. The video cut off. I dropped the phone like it had burned me, my chest tightening. This wasn't just someone messing with me. They knew where I lived. They had been here, and they wanted me to know it. My first instinct was to grab a bag and run. But run where? Whoever this was, they'd already erased me online. They'd probably find me wherever I went. My phone buzzed again, breaking through the panic. Another email. This one had a single line of text. "We warned you. Stop digging, or next time we won't just watch." My blood went cold. I didn't respond. Instead, I grabbed my laptop and started searching for answers. If someone was trying this hard to scare me, there had to be a reason. I went back to the dark website, the missing persons list, scrolling through the names again. Most of them didn't mean anything to me. But then I saw one that did. Nathan S., Portland, Oregon. Last seen October 2024. I froze. That was this month. My cousin wasn't just warning me. He was on the list too. I hit the call button immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. "Nathan, call me back," I said, my voice shaky. "I think you're in danger. Don't go anywhere. Just Just call me, okay? I hung up and stared at the screen, dread curling in my stomach. How long had his name been there? And why hadn't he told me? A loud knock at the door made me jump. I spun around, my heart leaping into my throat. "Who is it?" I called, trying to sound braver than I felt. No answer. Another knock, harder this time. I crept to the peephole and peeked out. It wasn't a dark-hooded figure or a lurking stranger. It was my landlord, Mr. Grayson, holding a clipboard. Relief flooded through me. I opened the door. "Hey, Mr. Grayson." My voice cracked. "What's up?" "Sorry to bother you, Rachel," he said, adjusting his glasses. "Just need you to sign this lease renewal. Thought I'd swing by since I was in the building." I nodded, forcing a smile, even as my hands trembled. "Sure, no problem." As I signed the paper, I glanced over his shoulder, scanning the hallway. It was empty. "You okay?" Mr. Grayson asked, his brow furrowed. "You look a little pale." "Yeah, I'm fine," I lied. "Just didn't sleep much last night." "Well, don't work too hard," he said with a chuckle, handing me back my copy of the lease. "And let me know if you need anything." I thanked him and closed the door, locking it twice this time. My phone buzzed again. Another text from the unknown number. "This is your last warning." My hands clenched into fists. Enough was enough. If they wanted to scare me, they were doing a great job. But I wasn't going to sit around and wait for whatever came next. I pulled up my email and typed out a message to an old friend from college, Amy, the only person I knew who was tech-savvy enough to deal with this. She worked in cybersecurity, the kind of person who knew how to dig into the digital shadows. The message was short. "Amy, I need your help. It's urgent. Call me." I hit send and stared at the screen, praying she'd get back to me soon. If these people thought they could erase me, they were wrong. I wasn't going down without a fight. Amy called back within 10 minutes. That was the thing about her, always reliable, even if we hadn't spoken in over a year. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Rachel, what the hell is going on?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Your email sounded intense." "It's bad, Amy. Like, really bad." I paced the room, one hand clutching the phone, the other tugging at my hair. I found my face on some missing persons list on the dark web. Then I started getting texts and emails from someone telling me to stop looking into it. They sent me a video. Someone was outside my apartment last night. And now my cousin Nathan's name is on the list too. "Wait, slow down," Amy said. "Start from the beginning. What's this website?" I explained everything. The late-night rabbit hole, the discovery of my name, Nathan's cryptic call, and the SUV following me. I told her about the video and the messages, my words tumbling over each other in a rush. When I finished, there was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Okay," Amy finally said, her tone serious. "First of all, you need to stop engaging with whoever's contacting you. No replies, no clicks, nothing. They're baiting you." I wasn't planning on sending them a fruit basket, I said, my voice shaky with nervous humor. "I'm serious, Rachel," she said. "This isn't a joke. If they're using the dark web, they're not amateurs. You need to be careful." "I know," I said, though the word felt hollow. "Can you find out who they are? Or why they're targeting me?" "I'll try," she said, "but I'll need the website link and anything else you've got. Screenshots, emails, whatever. Send it all to me. And don't open any more attachments, okay? Promise me." "Promise," I said. After hanging up, I forwarded everything to Amy and tried to breathe. She'd always been the smartest person I knew. If anyone could figure this out, it was her. But waiting wasn't my strong suit. The apartment felt too quiet, too still, like the silence itself was taunting me. I turned on the TV just for the noise, but it didn't help. My mind kept replaying the video, the figure outside my door, the texts telling me to stop. Then my phone buzzed again. For a second, I thought it might be Amy, but it wasn't. It was another text from the unknown number. You should have listened. Now it's too late." A knock at the door made me jump. Not the soft, polite kind. This was loud, insistent, and deliberate. My stomach flipped. I grabbed a kitchen knife, my heart racing as I crept toward the door. "Who is it?" I called, trying to sound braver than I felt. No answer. "Who's there?" I demanded, louder this time. Still nothing. I peeked through the peephole, but the hallway was empty. No one there. The knock came again, louder, this time from the back of the apartment. I froze. My apartment was on the 3rd floor. The only thing behind me was a window that overlooked the alley. I turned slowly, my pulse roaring in my ears. The curtains fluttered slightly, like someone had brushed past them. "Hello?" My voice cracked. The window was locked. It had been locked all night. But the feeling that someone was watching me was so intense, it made my skin crawl. I stepped closer, knife in hand, and yanked the curtain aside. Nothing. Just the empty alley below. I turned back, my breathing ragged. But before I could even take another step, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a video. With trembling hands, I opened it. The footage was shaky, like it had been filmed on a phone, and it showed someone walking through a darkened hallway. My hallway. The camera stopped in front of my door. A hand reached out, knocking once, twice, 3 times. Then the video cut to black. I dropped the phone, the knife clattering to the floor beside me. They weren't just watching me. They were here. I stumbled backward, my mind racing. I needed to get out, but where could I go? Whoever this was, they'd already found me once. My phone buzzed again, and this time it was Amy. I snatched it up, relief flooding through me. "Rachel," she said, her voice urgent. "I found something." "What? What did you find?" I asked, my words tumbling out in a rush. "That website," she said. "It's not just a list. It's an auction." "An auction?" I repeated, my stomach turning. "They're selling people," Amy said. "The missing persons. They're being sold to the highest bidder. And Rachel, your name isn't just on the list. You're one of the top listings." The room spun. "What does that mean?" "It means someone's already paid for you," she said. "And they're coming to collect." Amy's words echoed in my head. "Someone's already paid for you, and they're coming to collect." I could barely breathe, let alone think. "Amy, what do I do?" "First, get out of there," she said, her voice steady but urgent. "Don't pack, don't waste time. Just grab your phone and go. Now." "But where?" "Anywhere public," she interrupted. "A coffee shop, a gas station, it doesn't matter. You just need to be around people." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Okay, I'm going." I grabbed my keys and bolted for the door, heart hammering in my chest. The hallway was eerily quiet, but every shadow felt alive, like someone could step out at any moment. The elevator was taking too long, so I sprinted down the stairs, gripping the railing to keep from tripping over my own feet. When I hit the ground floor, I burst through the lobby doors and into the street. The cool night air slapped me in the face, jolting me back to reality. "Where are you now?" Amy asked. "Outside," I said, glancing around. "There's a diner across the street. I'll head there." "Good," she said. "Stay on the line with me." I crossed the street, practically running, and pushed through the diner's glass doors. The place was half empty, just a few late-night diners and a bored-looking waitress. The fluorescent lights felt harsh, but comforting. I slid into a booth near the back, keeping my back to the wall so I could see the entrance. The waitress approached, her notepad in hand. "Just coffee," I said quickly, barely meeting her eyes. She nodded and walked away, and I turned my attention back to Amy. "Okay, I'm here. Now what?" "I'm digging into the site," she said. I found some usernames and IP addresses connected to it. If I can figure out who's running it, I might be able to get them to back off. Are you sure that's a good idea? I asked, glancing toward the door. What if they come after you too? I'll be fine, she said, though her tone wasn't as confident as I'd hoped. Just stay put for now. I'll call you back when I have more. She hung up, leaving me alone with my thoughts. The coffee arrived, but I didn't touch it. My eyes were glued to the door, every muscle in my body tense. Minutes ticked by, feeling like hours. Then, the bell above the diner door jingled. A man walked in, mid-40s, scruffy beard, wearing a leather jacket. He looked around the room, his gaze lingering on each booth before settling on me. My stomach clenched. Was it him? Or was I just being paranoid? He walked toward me, his boots heavy against the tile floor. When he reached my booth, he stopped. You dropped this, he said, holding out a scarf. It wasn't mine. Sorry, that's not mine, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He tilted his head, his eyes narrowing. You sure? Positive, I said, leaning back as far as I could. He shrugged and walked away, but not before giving me one last lingering look. The waitress appeared a moment later, looking concerned. You okay, hun? Yeah, I said quickly. Just a little jumpy. She gave me a small smile. Well, holler if you need anything. As soon as she left, my phone buzzed. It was another text from the unknown number. Running won't save you. We're closer than you think. My stomach churned. I looked around the diner, my paranoia cranking up to 11. Was someone in here watching me? The scruffy guy? The waitress? Before I could spiral any further, my phone rang. It was Amy. I've got something, she said, her words tumbling out quickly. The site is run by a network of people. It's not just one person, but I traced one of the accounts linked to your profile to a user in Portland. Whoever they are, they're close. And Rachel, I think they're connected to you. What do you mean? I asked, dread pooling in my stomach. Think, she said. Is there anyone in your life, an ex, a coworker, a neighbor, who's been acting strange? Someone who knows you well enough to use your information? My mind raced, cycling through everyone I'd interacted with recently. No one stood out. No, I said. No one. I don't know anyone who would do this. Then it's someone you don't suspect, she said. Rachel, listen to me. Whoever this is, they're close enough to watch you, and they're not going to stop unless we stop them first. What do? I whispered. I'm sending you a location, she said. It's a public library downtown. I'll meet you there in 30 minutes. We'll figure this out together. Before I could respond, the line went dead. A text came through a second later. It was from Amy, with an address for the library. I grabbed my things and headed for the door, my heart pounding. As I stepped outside, I felt it again. That creeping sensation of being watched. I glanced over my shoulder. The man in the leather jacket was standing at the diner counter, watching me through the window. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched as I hurried down the street toward the library. My phone was gripped tightly in my hand, the screen glowing faintly in the darkness. I kept checking it, hoping for a message from Amy, but there was nothing. I crossed the street and walked into the library's glass doors. The warm glow of the overhead lights felt like a stark contrast to the cold, heavy weight pressing down on my chest. I quickly scanned the rows of bookshelves. The place was nearly deserted, save for a couple of elderly patrons sitting near the windows, flipping through newspapers, but none of them looked familiar. I stood there for a second, my heart pounding. Was I supposed to meet Amy at the back, or was it the front? Did she mean the upstairs section, or was I just being paranoid? Then I saw him, the man in the leather jacket. He was sitting at one of the study tables near the back of the library, his back to me. He looked different now. His scruffy beard was gone, replaced by a clean-shaven face. His jacket was still the same, but his posture had changed. He looked more relaxed, like someone who belonged. But I knew. He had been watching me, the same man from the diner. I'd never seen him before in my life, but I knew now that he wasn't just some random guy. He was involved. I froze for a moment, unsure whether to turn and run or stay and confront him. But then the phone buzzed in my pocket. Amy. I grabbed the phone quickly, still eyeing the man at the table. Rachel? Amy's voice came through, crisp and clear. Where are you? I'm here, I whispered, still watching the man. I think I just found him, the guy from the diner. He's here, sitting at a table. Don't engage, Amy said immediately. Stay calm. I'm 5 minutes away. I didn't respond. My eyes were glued to the man, trying to gauge whether he'd seen me or not. But he didn't seem to notice. Instead, he flipped through a book, marking pages with a pen. I turned and walked swiftly down the aisle, keeping an eye on him. The shadows in the library felt deeper now, like the walls themselves were closing in. I found a quiet corner, out of sight, and sat down, my pulse racing. Every noise seemed amplified in the silence. The shuffle of a page turning, the soft tap of footsteps against the tile. I tried to control my breathing, to calm myself. Then the phone buzzed again. Amy. Rachel, she said, her voice tense. I need you to listen carefully. I found something. That site? It's more than just a human trafficking ring. It's part of a larger operation. And the person running it? It's someone in your life, someone you know. I felt my breath catch in my throat. What? You're saying it's someone... Who? I don't know yet, Amy said. But I've traced the activity back to an old account you used to have. One linked to your high school. It was dormant for years, but someone's been using it recently. My mind went blank. An old account? What are you talking about? There's a name connected to it. A name I didn't expect. It's Daniel S., your ex. The world seemed to tilt beneath me. I couldn't breathe. Daniel. Of course. He had always been... strange. Distant. But this? This didn't make sense. Daniel, I whispered. He couldn't. Rachel, Amy's voice cut through the panic building in my chest. Listen to me. It makes sense. He knew you better than anyone. He had access to your personal life. He could have been the one who found your name, who put it on that list. And if he's involved in this, he's the one who's been watching you. I didn't know what to say. The room spun. Rachel, you need to get out of there, Amy said urgently. I'm almost there. Just leave. Get somewhere safe. I stood up, the cold floor beneath my feet grounding me. But then my eyes shot toward the back of the library. The man in the leather jacket was standing now, and he was walking toward me. I tried to move, but my legs felt like lead. My heart hammered in my chest. Then I heard his voice, low and calm. Rachel, he said. I froze. He knew my name. Daniel, I whispered, barely able to get the words out. He smiled, but it wasn't a smile I recognized. It was colder, more calculated. You've been asking too many questions, Rachel. It's time to stop. My body went numb, but I had no choice. I had to move. I turned on my heel and ran, pushing through the aisles of books as fast as I could. I could hear his footsteps behind me, fast and determined. I glanced over my shoulder. He was getting closer. I was almost at the exit when my phone buzzed again. It was Amy. I answered, out of breath. Amy, he's here. He's Daniel. I don't know what to do. He's coming for me. Rachel, listen to me, Amy said, her voice tight. You need to keep moving. I'm at the entrance. Head toward me. Don't stop. I sprinted faster, my heart pounding so loud I thought it might burst. The door was within reach. I could hear Daniel's footsteps getting louder, closer, and then... I reached the door, but it didn't open. I yanked the handle, locked. I slammed my shoulder against it, but it didn't budge. Rachel, get back! Amy shouted through the phone. It's a trap! He's locked the door! I spun around, panic surging through me, and saw Daniel standing at the other end of the hallway, his face twisted into a smirk. And then, I heard the sound of something even more terrifying than footsteps. A click. I could feel the cold sweat trickling down my back, the taste of panic thick in my mouth. The door was locked. Daniel was closing in, and I had nowhere to go. "Rachel!" Amy's voice blared through the phone, panic threading her words. "Listen to me. You need to get out, now." I looked around, frantic. The library was silent, but I could hear my pulse pounding in my ears. Daniel was still standing there, blocking the exit, watching me with cold, calculating eyes. "What are you doing, Rachel?" he called, his voice eerily calm. "You really think you can just run? You've been part of this game for a long time. It's too late now." I wasn't listening. I wasn't thinking. All I knew was that I had to move, or I wouldn't make it out. I turned away from him, my legs shaking beneath me. There had to be another way out. Then I saw it. The window. It was small, too small for a normal person to fit through, but in that moment, I didn't care. I sprinted toward it, my fingers brushing the edge of the curtains. The window was locked. But with a quick twist, it popped open. I didn't look back. I didn't have time. I shoved the glass up as far as it would go and crawled through, my body scraping against the metal frame. The cold air hit me like a slap in the face, but I didn't stop. I pushed through, landing in the alley behind the library with a thud. My breath was coming in ragged gasps, and I didn't stop running. I kept my phone pressed to my ear. Amy, I'm outside. But then, the phone went silent. Amy? I breathed into the phone. No answer. I looked around, eyes scanning the alley. No sign of Daniel, no sign of anyone. Just the sound of my rapid breathing and the distant hum of traffic. The phone buzzed in my hand. It was a text. "You think you've escaped, but you're already too deep. There's nowhere to run." I froze. My heart thudded in my chest. It was Daniel. I couldn't stop. I couldn't let him win. I kept running, my feet pounding against the pavement, my phone a lifeline in my hand. I had to find Amy. I had to. Then a shadow loomed in front of me. I stumbled to a stop. It was a black SUV, parked in the middle of the street, its engine idling. The windows were tinted. My blood ran cold. The door opened. I stepped back, ready to bolt, but then a familiar face emerged from the shadows. It was Amy. But something was wrong. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow. She looked like a ghost. "Amy?" I whispered, my voice shaking. She didn't respond right away. Instead, she just stared at me, the corners of her mouth twitching like she wanted to smile. But the smile never came. "Amy?" I repeated, more urgently this time. "What's happening? What's going on?" She stepped forward, but it wasn't Amy anymore. It was someone else. Daniel's voice, smooth and mocking, came through her lips. "You're still playing the victim, Rachel. You think you're the hero of this story? It's over. You're already in too deep." A cold shiver ran down my spine. This wasn't Amy. This was Daniel. He had control over her. I took a step back, my mind racing. "What have you done to her?" "Nothing," he said, his voice now full of sick amusement. "She just made the mistake of thinking she could help you. Now she's mine. You're all mine." I felt like the ground had fallen out from under me. My best friend, my only ally, turned against me. "Amy, please," I started, but she cut me off. "You should have listened, Amy." "No," Daniel said, her voice chilling. "It's too late now." I spun around, looking for an escape, but there was nowhere to run. The SUV blocked my path, and Daniel, no, his voice still coming from Amy's lips, was moving closer. It was a trap. "You've made it this far, Rachel," Daniel mocked, circling me. "But this is where the story ends. The people who put you on that list, they always get their prize." A flicker of movement caught my eye. It was a police officer stepping into the alley from the other side, his hand on his gun. "Step away from her," he shouted. "Don't do it!" Daniel, in Amy's body, warned. "She's already too far gone. The deal's been made." I didn't know what was real anymore. Was the officer here to help, or was he part of it? I ran. I didn't care. I didn't know if he was good or bad. I just ran. I heard a shot ring out. I don't know who fired it. I didn't stop. I turned the corner, barely hearing the police officer shout after me. The city was my only hope now. I had to lose them. I ran until I couldn't breathe, until I couldn't hear anything anymore, until the world felt too big and I was too small.